Hello there, welcome Genessis Models and welcome to our weekly news vlog. Now today we've got a few things, but just to sort of let you know, last week we had our store giveaway hour, which was supposed to be just a pilot, just to kind of see if that would kind of work and people was interested in it, and thankfully it was an absolute sort of success. You guys did go off and sell us out, which was good, and it was a nice sort of give back to you guys, because as I say, we actually helped you pay for those kits. And so with that success of the store giveaway hour, it is going to be a thing here in our weekly news vlogs. It's going to now be the last week of every month, so be tuned in. The last week of every month we're going to be doing a store giveaway hour, and all these weekly news vlogs are going to be every Friday at 7 p.m. UK standard time. So as you know, you've got that time and date. It's always going to be that time, and it's always going to be the last week of the month where we do this store giveaway hour. So hopefully you'll all be nicely tuned in and ready to sort of grab yourself a bargain, and us give you a nice little thank you and help promote the store as well. Hopefully we can sort of maybe build that up. It all sort of depends, you know. We're still sort of like a new sort of, small little store. We're still in the beta stage. We still haven't launched the website, the new store on the new website and everything, so we're still growing. Maybe this could be something that could turn into a fortnightly thing or a weekly thing, depends on how much we grow, because it does cost us money to do these giveaways. So as we grow, hopefully we'll have more sort of funding to do it weekly, do it fortnightly, or whatever. But that's a store giveaway hour. You did like it, and hopefully you're going to like seeing it more in the future. So let's just jump now into your fantastic work you guys do on the forum with the top picks for the week. So here we are on the forum. We have Remy here. Now we've seen his work being in the build stage, and I've showed it a bit, but here we are now. We are in the finished stage, and we have our final reveals, which, as you can see, nice lovely bit of diorama. The diorama is really nice. We've got all this vegetation and everything, but he also used recreated water as well, which is rather cool. We have the finished piece as well, which, as you can see, is all nicely weathered up. We can sort of see all this dirt on here, and all the bolts and everything have got sort of pigments and washes and filters and all sorts of cool weathering on there, and as you can see, looking absolutely lovely. Getting a little bit closer with the images here, and again you can see like the water effects that we have here, which is looking really nice. So well done there, Remy, for your final reveals. Got a build that's been started here by sorry if I can't pronounce this, but Ulva Demon or something along those lines. But he's doing a Star Trek, and I've got a bit of a soft spot for a bit of Star Trek. This is a very old AMT kit of the USS Enterprise in 1/650 scale, right? But as you can see, he has started building this. This is something I will keep an eye on. And as you can see, starting to get like the cells coming together, the saucer section and the engine section, and all these cool things coming together there. But then we have up next a really kind of mind-blowing build we have here by Magpie 1832. He is doing the in 1/350 scale by Revell a Tippets, which is the Platinum Edition. And these Platinum Editions, they come with a ton of photo etch, and in this build he's really done a good job. He's showing everything, so many photos, and as you can see, we've got all this resin brass that's going to be going on with this, and he really goes to town, not just in the build, but showing you how he's going about things and how he's building things, and all the work that's going into this. Now if we scroll down a bit, because as I say, there is an absolute load. He's really showing off this build on the forum. We've got all this lovely brass, right, and we're starting to see photo etch with these little ladders. And remember, this is in 1/350 scale, so really tiny, really minute work. And as we sort of scroll down, I do believe we're going to see some really loads and loads of photo etch. He even does a nice bit of scratch building to go along with it all as well. But here we have all these sheets and sheets of photo etch. But then he's sort of drilling out little holes here, where we're going to have all sorts of photo etched ladders going in there. We've got tiny little ladders here, as you can see, even doing a bit of scratch building as well, some sort of grill work or something. Looks absolutely amazing for what the scale it is. And I'll just quickly scroll down, and as you can see here, he's putting these tiny bits of I think it's like wires that he's maybe made or something, where he's putting them in these tiny little holes he's drilled and everything to make sort of ladders on the side. Absolutely stunning. And as you can see, loads and loads of these tiny little ladders he's made. Now there is a lot to this, lots and lots of photos. I'm just going to skip down to the bottom. As you can see, just he really sort of shows you just pretty much everything as he works through. It's almost like a step-by-step. Just look at that, absolutely amazing, all these portholes and doors and everything in photo etch. But yeah, I just want to sort of quickly zoom down to where he is, because this build's been going since last year August, right? So he's really sort of taking his time and spending a lot of time doing it. Again, loads and loads. So I'm just going to skip right to the end to sort of keep you up to date where he is at this point. He started to build some cranes, right, and these are tiny little cranes, and using, I think we've got some photo etch here, but I don't know if that's like some white metal as well. And as you can see, really tiny, tedious stuff building this crane, and again, it looks absolutely stunning. So if you want to go off and see some stunning work, there is a lot to this forum thread here if you want to go check it out, because I can't show you it all, obviously, because there's just so much of it. But absolutely stunning, top modeler there, well done to you for doing that, and hopefully you guys will get over there and enjoy it. But that's it for our top picks on the forum this week. So there's the top picks on the forum. Now, what are we sort of working on, what we've been working on this week? Well, we did release episode 22 of the Leopard that we just have just here, which, I do believe last week we finished off with showing you how to do washes. Well, we've actually now sort of finished the washes, and we've finally sort of showed you all the washes, and you can just see how it does bring out, all our sort of nooks and crannies, and sort of brings detail to the foreground, which is basically what the wash is all about. So we finish off with that, then we go off and we do some fading, which we did use this product here. This is AK Interactive's weathering pencils for modelers. Really sort of nice product because it's water based. It's a lot of these weathering products, it's all enamels, oils, something sort of nice and water based is kind of a bit of a nice change of pace, and it did work well with doing fading. I'd almost say equally well as all our sort of oils that we'd normally do fading with. Well, this did pretty much the same. So you could, it's up to you, you could either use the pencils or you could use oils to do fading if you want, because they seem to work nice. There's lots and lots of techniques they say they can do with this, which I do want to be trying out and see, if it's I can kind of imagine some things is probably still best to use oils and enamels, right? But it does seem like it can sort of replace maybe some things. If you don't like using oils, you don't like the smell of enamels and all those kind of things, and it is kind of nice and convenient that it does do a little bit more, but we'll find out as we go along. So that was the fading, and then we did start to touch, well, we are going to be touching on next week, which is going to be doing our tracks, which, as you can see, I've already got them nicely primed up. This one I have already kind of I do believe I've got it sort of a bit rusty, and I've got it painted up and a bit of a bit of chipping and stuff. But we're going to really sort of weather this up, and sort, because it is, as you can see, it is quite bright and a bit in your face right at this point in time. But we're going to get the mud on there and see, and probably next week you'll start to see more of that. Maybe I haven't filmed it actually, so I don't quite know. Then we have our Phantom. We've released episode 2 this week. Now in episode 2 I am a little bit ahead here, but you could sort of maybe just see all this lovely photo etch. Maybe this one will sort of, I mean, this one's a bit painted up now, but you can sort of see we've got all this lovely photo etch that we've actually put on these ejector seats. It was pretty complex, and we pretty much spend a lot of the episode next week going over the actual photo etch putting on there. But this week, what we did was in episode 2, it was a lot of, again, a bit more making sure things fit right. It was going off and sort of removing resin as well, which, you know, you've got to, you know, we had to sort of let you guys know resin is sort of quite dangerous, and I did show you how to use like a Dremel tool and really sort of sand the hell out of this resin, because we had to make sure that where's the other piece gone now, to get this to fit, all right, to get our bottom wheel well detail to fit with our resin cockpit just here, we literally, it's going to sit something like that, but it really had down to the micromillimeter of space that we had, so we really had to sand it as far as we possibly could take it, to the point where I do show you how, you know, you can see through this. This is wafer thin now, the floor is. I mean, actually, even without putting a light, I think you can sort of see how wafer thin it has got. You know, got to be really careful, you know, that you don't break through, but you've got to really push it to get it wafer thin, and we go over that and all sorts of things. But yeah, next week we'll also be sort of going through the photo etch as well on our ejector seats, which is quite complex, and it was very tricky and tiny and fiddly, but we've got all that we're going through. Next up as well, we did do a nice in-box review this week, which was trying to pronounce this, the Campsfits or something. Basically it's a Doe 17, it's by ICM, right, and basically Edard's gone off, reboxed it, and put sort of nice bits of resin, loads and loads of markings and lovely decals and canopy masks and all these goodies to sort of really spruce up a pretty sort of, shall we say, a nice kit by ICM. Probably best you go off and watch it and go check it out if you're interested in that. We do have them in stock. But next up, we're going to take a look at some questions and answers you guys have been asking over the past week or so. First up for our questions and answers, we have Jason Bowling. Basically, he is new to using an airbrush, and he's got a problem with ink flow. How, what's he basically say here? I have a flowing through, just nothing comes out. Also got a lot of back pressure coming through the cup, right? And this is what he's basically asking. Now, in situations like this, pretty much 9 times out of 10, right, this is going to be like a cleaning issue, right? You're new to the hobby, and maybe you don't quite realize that cleaning an airbrush is crucial, right? You're going to have so many problems if your airbrush isn't kept clean. They can so quickly clog up in the nozzle end, right, which maybe I could just sort of bring you in from the top cam just here, right? In the nozzle end, we've got these tiny little nozzles, right, and you know, this is like a 0.4mm nozzle, and that is going to clog up pretty sort of quickly if you don't clean your airbrush, right? So that's going to be sort of like, you know, pretty much for a lot of troubleshooting problems with an airbrush, you know, keep on top of your cleaning. If you've got a problem, just think first thing, let's just clean the airbrush, right? But in this case, because he's got back pressure coming out of the colour cup, i.e. you've probably got bubbles coming up through the colour cup area, you know, we've got stuff like these O-rings that we've got just here, right? And what is potentially happening, right, is you've not tightened this up enough. So if you're getting some back pressure, what you could also do is just give this a little bit of a tighter sort of tightness to it, nice and finger tight. You might find that actually you come to try it and you can turn it a little bit, and then your back pressure might stop as well. So that's probably the two things that are going to solve that problem. Then we have Hanson Henry. He's basically asking, for some reason I only got micro sol and not micro set. Do you think it could still be manageable? Thanks for the great video. So Hanson, really you can get away with not using micro set, right? Micro set is all about sort of starting the wrinkling process, the softening process of your decals, and it helps it adhere to the model. But in saying that, I have got away myself in the past just from using microcell. In a lot of cases, actually, when we have the tiny little decals, in all honesty, I don't really bother with micro set, right? Because it is a process of putting micro set down, then you put the decal on top, and then you kind of roll over it and get any air pockets out, and then you put micro sole on, right? But with the tiny little ones, I kind of just put the tiny little decals on, and then I just put micro sole on top, and that normally has always seemed to work for me. So you can get away with not using micro sole. Some of the bigger decals, you know, you probably want to be, you do want to be using micro set, but you could get away with it, is basically what I'm saying. But you're always best to have both of them products, really. You're best having as many sort of decaling products as you probably can. You know, more solutions the better, because some decals react differently to different sort of decaling solutions, and some are better for the job. Some of them don't even have any effect on decals, so it is good to have a lot of decaling solutions in your arsenal, but you could get away with it. It all sort of depends on the decaling, but give it a go, see if it sort of works. You know, if not, go get some micro set. Next one we have here is Kevin Cleaver. Now, Kevin Cleaver is talking about the homebrew video we did. Just a quick question: is this good for Tamiya acrylics? Plain and simply, yes. Homebrew thinners, if you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's where we show you how to make your own thinners for airbrushing. It's a very simple solution. It's basically IPA and water, basically, and you can add extra ingredients like I forget what it was now, what was it, flow improver or retarder, depending on what the situation is. Very simple solution to make up yourself, and it saves you a ton of money. And from what I've heard, from what I've used and your guys' feedback, it just seems to work with anything that's water based. So it is a really good product, and yes, it will work with Tamiya acrylics. Pale Horse Patriot. Now, Pale Horse Patriot, he basically says this: as a person who owns an auto detailing business and does a lot of paint correction, you can use all sorts of polishing compounds that are cheaper to achieve the same effect. The same goes for the cloths as well. Tamiya will sell you anything to make a quick buck. I know that's a bit of a dig at Tamiya, which might sound a bit unfair to some of you. Sorry, my iPad's going a bit mental, but basically this is what he's on about. These Tamiya polishing compounds, I do like them, right, and I have used them and they work really well, but they are expensive. Now, they are expensive, really, let's face it, you know, they come from Japan, they've got to come over here to the UK and everywhere else, and they do cost a bit more money to get them over here for us to buy. So I know Tamiya is expensive, but there is a reason why they are. If you lived in Japan, it wouldn't be such a big deal. But it is correct in the sense that there are products out there that you could go off and buy that aren't made for scale modeling, and you could probably end up paying less and get a bigger bottle of it, and it does the same job. You know, I do know that, you know, there is, you know, with cars you can buy polishing compounds, and you know what, you can get it quite cheap. You get it in a big bottle, and you can go off and use that on your model, and it will work. You can buy the cloths as well that you'd use to polish up a car, and it will work on your scale model. In saying that, I mean, there is a bit of sort of security in buying, say, a Tamiya polishing compound, because it has been, shall we say, formulated and tested to know that it's going to work on a scale model. If you were to go off and, say, buy some polishing compounds that you use on a car, it is best to just test it on, say, an inconspicuous area or on a test model, and just make sure you're not going to have any nasty reactions. In saying that, there's a lot of things out there as well. It's not just Tamiya, and it's not just the polishing compound. There is so many products out there where, you know, companies do tend to go off. They can go off a few times, and they'll go off and they'll take something that's really cheap, buy it by the bucket load, put it in a nice pretty bottle that says basically made for scale modeling, and they charge you what would be a hell of a lot more if, say, you went out and brought that product elsewhere. I mean, you know, you do have that buying security that it has been sort of, shall we say, tested to make sure it works for scale modeling. And if you did go off and buy, you know, as you say, like your own polishing compounds elsewhere, you would kind of need to test it to make sure. And same goes with everything else. I do remember a couple of years back there was an online store, which I won't name. They went off and they basically got little pots like this and put IPA in there and sold them for like about £3 or £4, which was really expensive. Putting IPA in a little pot like this and then selling it for £3 or £4 and saying it does this and this, when we all know, should know by now, by, you know, after doing, you know, the homebrew thinners, if you've ever tried to make it, how easy and how cheap it is to buy IPA by the gallon, let alone buying it by the bottle, right? Which was a bit of a rip-off. So you have got to be a bit careful. But it's kind of like a personal thing, you know. If you don't mind sort of putting a bit of testing in and buying something that is probably a lot cheaper and you get more of it, but then some of us like to, as I say, if you buy something that has been tested, you know it's going to work on your modeling. You haven't got to mess about trying to find stuff, research stuff, and do some testing of your own. So hopefully that sort of answers that question and sort of maybe brings a bit of an awareness there, just to be a little bit careful sometimes. Our last question here we have by Slugo. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, but was wondering if you are planning to do any World War One aircraft, maybe the Fokker DR1 by Minkit. Not much rigging on that. This, I mean, yes, is basically the answer to that. I do want to do like some sort of a nice World War One, you know, biplane kind of thing. But to answer that as a bit more, I do want to at some point tackle everything in scale modeling. I do want to at some point be doing stuff like dioramas as a step-by-step. I want to do some ships, cars, bikes, figures, you know, really sort of at some point, right, I do want to have like tackled all these areas, but you know, things take a bit of time. I mean, the way things are going now with Genessis models and this whole new sort of revamp and everything, we have been, you probably might have noticed, we've upped our time per video per episode, as well as we are releasing 2 step-by-steps each week. So you know, we should get through the step-by-steps a bit quicker and sort of release more step-by-steps each year, which means that, you know, I can sort of, you know, start tackling like things like World War One and you know, all sorts of areas. I mean, Genessis models, you know, it's bread and butter, shall we say, what a lot of people come here to do and a lot of our members want to do. It is aircraft, right? We're never going to sort of steer away from that, but doing the odd World War One aircraft, armor, you know, dioramas, ships, and all those kind of things. You know, it is something nice to have a bit of a change of pace, but I do want to sort of cover all these areas. But in some areas, like say dioramas, I personally don't do a lot of them. You know, it's not my sort of cup of tea, but I do want to teach it. But to be able to teach it, it does mean, you know, I do need to go off and actually build a load of dioramas. You know, I need to go off camera, no filming, build a load of dioramas, make sure I'm clued up and I know what I'm doing and I've got experience and knowledge with it before I start teaching you. So there is that aspect to it. Yes, basically yes, these things are all coming. It's just these things will take time. So that is all our questions and answers for this week. Hopefully you're enjoying what we're releasing this week, and a bit of a sneak peek of what's coming next week, which did I mention? I can't remember if I mentioned it, but yeah, next week we are going to be having a the store giveaway hour. Sorry, I couldn't remember that for some reason. But yeah, store giveaway hour is going to be next week. Remember, it's every Friday at 7 o'clock. It's the last week of the month, which it is the last week of the month next week. So we'll be having a nice store giveaway hour there, which hopefully you'll all get in on and sort of support that, which you did last time. And hopefully now you all know about it, it'll be a bit more bigger. But we'll have that next week as well. But sorry, we've come to an end of this week's news vlog. But as always, until next time, my name's Bob Waldron. This is Genessis Models, and I'll catch you next week.